The examples in this presentation are from Bethany Llewellyn, a teenager stricken by MELAS, a mitochondrial disorder. This genetic disorder manifested in middle school. Eventually, stroke-like episodes and seizures took a bright, very involved GT student to an academic level below her norm and required that she receive accommodations to make her learning more accessible. What do teachers do when our planned activities are not accessible to the needs of the learner? The following two examples are of projects Bethany's English teachers in 8th and 9th grade allowed her to do instead of the written or general project. Bethany used audio and visual elements to bring her projects to life, using multimodal elements before multimodal was even an education and digital learning buzzword. The videos have been shortened from their originals in the interest of time. If you are interested in the full videos, they are viewable on YouTube, and the reference is in the credits.
Well, my granddad told a story when, well, first off, my mom had told me that she was born on a flat rock at their house. It was down, they lived down about 150, 200 yards from what we call the big tree, which is that right up there. And Papa Miller would not ever join the Ku Klux Klan. Back then, that was a big issue, race was. And he would never join the Ku Klux Klan. And one day, that big tree had 4 branches that came off of it, about 4 foot off the ground. They were about 3 foot around a piece. 3 foot diameter a piece. And one day, one night, somebody came up and drilled a hole in one of those limbs, put a stick of dynamite in it, and jammed a stick in there, and set that dynamite off, blew the limb off the tree, and that stick landed about 50 foot from my granddad's house, all because he wouldn't join the Ku Klux Klan.
In Germany, when President Kennedy was assassinated, we lived in Heidelberg. Heidelberg was like Albuquerque. It sit down in the valley and the mountains all around it. Of course, there was a 12-hour difference, so it was that time when we heard about it overseas. I was upstairs at a friend's house watching some movies. They had been to France or somewhere, and Mom called and told us to turn the radio on. We had radio, we didn't watch the TV over there, and I'll never forget when it came on. It said, if you just tuned in, the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, has died. And it was a scary time being overseas and being in Germany, and the Russians were all around, and the German people really liked Kennedy, so they were very concerned. When I was about
a bottle of Coke, and I reached over and opened it. That time we were sitting there one evening eating supper, and I don't remember what James said, but his mama got really mad at him and was giving him what for, and come down with her fist on the table, but she hit a fork, and it just bounced straight up and it swirled around and landed on the table. Everybody got real quiet. Nobody would laugh, but we talked about it a lot since then.
That's all, folks.
This assignment required the teachers to write a poem which was modeled after original I Am poem and fill in their own characteristics. Bethany was allowed to complete this multimodally, and this has been shortened from its original product.
At 20 years of age, I'm still looking for a dream. A war's already waged. for my destiny. But you've already won the battle, and you've got great plans for me. Though I can't always see, 'cause I got a couple dents in my fender, got a couple rips in my jeans, try to fit the pieces together, but perfection is my enemy, and on my own I'm so clumsy, but on your shoulders I can see I'm free to be me. When I was just a girl, I thought I had it figured out. See, my life would turn out right, and I'd make it here somehow. But things don't always come that easy, and sometimes I would down. Oh, 'cause I got a couple dents in my fender, got a couple rips in my jeans, try to fit the pieces together, but perfection is my enemy, and on my own I'm so clumsy, but on your shoulders I can see I'm free to be me, and you're free to be you. Sometimes I believe that I can do anything, yet other times I think I've got nothing good to bring. But you look at my heart and you tell me that I've got all you seek. Oh, and it's easy to believe, even though I got a couple dents in my fender, got a couple rips in my jeans, try to fit the pieces together, but perfection is my enemy, and on my own I'm so clumsy, but on your shoulders I can see I got a couple dents in my fender, got a couple rips in my jeans, try to fit the pieces together, but perfection is my enemy, and on my own I'm so clumsy, but on your shoulders I can see.
As teachers in a general education classroom, we are faced with the demands of the testing culture and the pressure to have all students perform, all while differentiating. These examples show that it is possible to differentiate and to allow accessibility without compromising that rigor. We can see that Bethany still understood the concepts that she was being given with poetry and with her oral history project for the novel that they had been studying. The following is now an interview with Amber Johnson, a special education teacher and a special education coordinator for a high school campus.
Hi, I'm Amber Johnson. I am Lamisa's special education teacher. I'm going into my 5th year. I have been in education for the last 9 years. Accessibility in the general education setting means creating an environment where every student can fully engage, participate, and succeed, regardless of disability status, learning style, background, or language ability. It involves proactively designing lessons, materials, and assessments that remove those barriers and provide multiple ways for students to access content, to interact with it, and to demonstrate mastery of that content. This is essential for all students, not just those with IEPs or 504 plans, because you're going to have a lot of students who have unidentified learning needs, including those with undiagnosed disabilities, trauma, language barriers. Practices that improve accessibility like visual supports, chunked directions, voice to text tools, that enhances learning for everybody. It aligns with inclusive education values where we honor diversity and ensure equity by meeting students where they are. Accessibility fosters a culture of belonging and confidence, which is foundational to student well being, academic engagement, and long term success. When general education is accessible, we are not just accommodating students with disabilities, we are raising the bar for instructional excellence and universal design. Creating accessible classrooms isn't just about compliance. It's about empowering every student to learn, belong, and thrive. Students with disabilities often encounter a range of academic, sensory, communication, environmental, and social barriers when it pertains to the general education setting that makes lessons difficult for them to access. Some of your common challenges are going to be your pace of instruction being too fast, without processing time or wait time. The instruction is very verbally heavy, without a whole lot of visuals in a lot of classrooms or even hands-on support. It's overly rigid, the assignment format, so they want you to write have long written responses only. It can be too loud or visually just be super busy, causing a sensory overload. There can be social isolation due to lack of structured peer interaction or unclear expectations. You can even have unclear or inconsistent routines, which can increase anxiety. Some of your proactive strategies that teachers can use to reduce these barriers is your universal design for learning. Design lessons with multiple ways to access this content, express learning, stay engaged. Preview vocabulary and key concepts using visuals, anchor charts, real world examples, which is where it's really going to tie in. Provide flexible response options. So, yes, can you give me an oral response? Sure. Can you write it out? Sure. Can you give me a visual project? Can you use assistive technology? Offer different types of sensory support, such as a calm corner, fidgets, noise canceling headphones, a Zendan, if you will. I like to use really structured routines and visual schedules to support transitions. It reduces anxiety in students who, again, may not even be diagnosed with high anxiety. They may just be dealing with it silently. And of course, differentiate assignments, scaffolding, using tiered instruction. By proactively designing for accessibility and flexibility, we are creating classrooms where differences are supported and all students can participate meaningfully. Proactive accessibility shifts the mindset from how do I modify for this one student who has an IEP or a 504 to how can I design this lesson to include everybody from the very beginning. There's many effective tools and strategies that support diverse learners in general education classrooms. Some of those examples include graphic organizers. This will help with comprehension and writing structure. Immersive reader or Google Read and Write for students who need reading support. Closed captioned and transcripts for videos. That's going to be for your students who may be deaf or hard of hearing, or may even have some type of trauma to the ear where, maybe it's temporary. Text to speech or speech to text for students with reading or writing disabilities. Response options, beyond just giving you an answer verbally. Can they point to the answer? Can they select the answer? Can they draw the answer? Can they use switches to get to the answer? Visual schedules, color coding, icons for any multi-step tasks. Anchor charts. They summarize content and expectations. Interactive notebooks or task cards to reinforce independence. Engagement options would be like your choice boards or your menus for student voice and motivation. Peer teaching and cooperative learning for social interactive. That also gives you the scaffolding. Hands-on, tactile materials, so your manipulatives, your digital simulations. But then you can also have behavior supports. That's going to be a reinforcement system that a positive reinforcement system that you can have in the classroom. Using your proximity control or your preferential seating to bring that student closer to you, to help you check in with them. Hey, how are we doing emotionally? Do we need our emotions, do they need to be regulated? Have a check-in, check-out for that. Calm down kits or sensory tools that's brought into or integrated into the classroom routines. Allowing oral, visual, or project-based assessments. Using rubrics with visual indicators or a simple checklist helps. These tools and strategies, they help students access content, engage meaningfully, express themselves confidently, regardless of their communication style, their sensory needs. This creates an environment where all students, regardless of their ability, they can thrive. Start with curiosity and compassion. You don't have to overhaul your entire curriculum. Small, thoughtful changes can make a huge impact. So, my advice, know your students. Learn their strengths, their needs, their interests, how they learn best. Use their IEPs and their 504 plans as a foundation, but then go even deeper by building a relationship with their support staff, observing how the student responds in different contexts, and most importantly, ask your student. Ask the student what helps them learn best. Design lessons with flexibility from the beginning. You have to ask yourself, how can I represent this content in more than one way? How can students show what they know in different ways or in more than one way? How can I keep students engaged and motivated? If you have a specialist that you're working with, or if you even know a specialist, collaborate with them. Work with the special education teachers, your speech therapist, your occupational therapist, your physical therapist, to co-plan lessons or modify materials. Their insight is going to be invaluable to you. It's not them coming in to take over the classroom. It is them providing that additional support. Start small. Start with like one thing. So add visuals, provide directions in writing, provide notes to your students in advance. Allow multiple ways to show learning or allow flexible seating. Focus on accessibility practices one at a time and build from there, because it's the little things that's going to build that confidence. Embed your assistive tools into your daily routines. So if you're going to use visual timers or voice to text or classroom interpreters, use it as a part of normal practice. Get your students used to that, so then you're building it for the entire class. Always, always, always reflect. After a lesson, you want to ask yourself what worked well and what didn't. Believe in progress over perfection. Accessibility is a mindset, it's a journey. Every single effort that you make for your classroom to be more inclusive is a step towards equity. Offer grace, Offer grace to yourself, offer grace to your students. It's a continuous journey. It's not a checklist where you can just mark off and say, yes, I did that. It's learning and growing and reflecting and refining. So you're going to need to have grace for yourself. The goal is never perfection. It's progress. With each intentional step, you are creating a more inclusive, equitable space for every student to belong and to achieve. I hope that helps.